Well, we are in the holiday season, and that usually means quite the news slowdown. But it hasn't stopped James Gunn from slapping down more fake reports. Let's talk about the report from earlier today about the Green Lantern series being cancelled, James Gunn's response, and where I think this particular series is going to fit into James Gunn's DCU. Well, one of the rather more anticipated series coming via HBO Max will be Green Lantern. We all know the show has undergone a lot of changes, but the current version of the show will focus on John Stewart. Now, earlier today, we got a couple of reports that the series had just been scrapped and gone the way of Batgirl. But Gunn responded and has set the record straight. Now, there was a tweet from Comic Book Resource, and they were referencing scooper Daniel RPK. The report suggested the series had been completely scrapped, and in a nice holiday fashion, James Gunn responded, calling it flat out fake. Now again, as fans, we should be pretty happy about this. It's pretty great seeing James Gunn respond directly and squash false reports. We tell you guys all the time, the scoopers hit and the scoopers miss. And this appears to be one of those clear misses. The best part about this though is him kind of going on record so quickly discourages people from spreading false information, and it was good to see this one flush down the commode rather quickly. Now, as many of you know, Gunn and Safran are pretty much midway in their plan to completely reboot the DC universe, and the fact that he said this show was not cancelled, calling it a fake report, indicates to me this could be a very important piece of the new DCU. A couple of months ago, we found out the version of the show they were working on, which was a multi-generational version of the Green Lantern show, set in the 40s, 80s, 2000s, and in space, had been completely scrapped, and that show was being replaced with a John Stewart story. John Stewart was a big part of that old Justice League cartoon, and he is a fan favorite. He even just got his own recent animated movie, and I think this is very suggestive to what's happening. James Gunn made it pretty clear the other day they were leaning on that old Justice League cartoon as part of their inspiration, and I think this Green Lantern show is going to fit right into his puzzle. We know that he will be focused on the trinity of characters, but the next step beyond that is basically the core Justice League, and the Green Lantern is absolutely part of that. I actually believe this Green Lantern show is going to lay out the mythos and the framework for the Green Lantern Corps, and ultimately many of the other Lantern Corps that make up the expanded DC universe. I think the change to John Stewart was precisely for this reason, and Gunn and Safran may have actually had some input in that, but none of that's been verified as of today. Now, all the other details on the show are pretty slim. Outside of knowing it will focus on John Stewart, we haven't heard who will play John Stewart yet, and we don't even know when it's going to kick off production. There was some additional reports that said it would have a little bit of a reduced budget, with the original budget coming in at $120 million. It's unclear right now where Warner Bros. Discovery and HBO Max are going to come in on the new budget, but I think it's pretty important to get the Green Lantern right. I really do believe this Green Lantern series will lay out the framework for the DCU and the DCU's Green Lantern. One of the good and bad things about the Green Lantern character is there's so many people that have held the mantle. So formally establishing who's going to be the new Green Lantern this early in the process, I think is epically important and precisely the reason this show likely got revamped. Now, what goes on with the show, we're going to have to wait and see. Like I've said, I think Green Lantern mythos, as well as the expanded mythos of all of the spectrum of lanterns, is hugely important to the future of the DCU, and I think Gunn and Safran have their finger on this series because it's going to be really important. Properly establishing the DC Universe Space Cops, along with all the components of their mythology, will allow them to open multiple doorways to the corners of the DC Cosmic Universe. The DC Cosmic Universe is something that's not been touched on the big screen, and very lightly touched on the small. I know Gunn is a fan of several of these properties, and fully understands the history of the comics. The Green Lantern Corps will not only provide doorways to the other spectrum of corps, but other interesting places in space, and enemies from space, such as Warworld. Obviously, we're covering everything DCU on this channel, and especially Green Lantern, so make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you get all the cosmic updates. But until we know more, what do you guys think? How excited are you for this upcoming Green Lantern series that now appears confirmed by James Gunn? And do you think a John Stewart story is indicative of John Stewart being the new DCU Green Lantern? Tell me what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you hit like, click subscribe, and if you don't ring that bell, you won't get any updates. Peace.